I'm just reading a few of your comments about dimming LEDs, and that one's bright, and you should add a resistor to that one. Yes. Let me show you something. So this is an LED with a resistor in series just to stop it blowing up. All the resistor does is current limit. I've got a 9-volt battery tied to it there, and what's going on? Oh, I see, shorting the wires out. We'll put a pen between them so that it doesn't do that. There we are. That's what I'm talking about. Okay, so on the breadboard, all I've done is run an additional resistor, variable resistor, in series with the light, with the LED. It's a sensible value. You're just going to have to trust me on that. Now watch what happens when I dim it. It's on or off. Now, there is a very small window where, let me try and find it for you. Do you see that? So you can sort of, kinda, but it's on or off. LEDs do not like dimming with resistors. Oh, but they do. Yeah, look, you can, but the way it's done with LEDs is by turning them on and off really fast. I can show you that too. I hadn't thought this through, but I'll show you. Do you see that flicker? That is these LEDs up here being turned on and off very fast. I've dimmed them down just a little bit so they do that. If I turn the brightness up, oh, can I reach it from here? It's not just the frame rate. It is that the LEDs are dimmed traditionally by turning them on and off really fast, which is why they flicker. They're working on DC, so you would have to say, look, it's not a frame rate between the camera and the LED thing. It's that they're being turned on and off at a rate that can be seen by the camera. My word, am I making some sense? So old incandescent lights, yes, you can just add a resistor and down they go. With LEDs, you sort of kind of can, but it's much more difficult to get them just on that tiny bit where they do dim. Really, the best way to do it, there's a little circuit you have. It's sometimes loosely referred to as pulse width modulation. It really isn't that. My teeth aren't in. Pulse width modulation is actually a way of modulating something to transmit a radio signal, but we won't get into that. But that's where it comes from. You're varying the width of the pulse. In other words, the bit that it's on for. Rather a complicated answer to a relatively simple problem. Ways you can dim LEDs is by painting over them with paint, choosing one with the right amount of output. And in my drawer, so in here, let me open this one for you. I'm not going to tip it up. I've got one hand. All of these, and on the card it will tell you the brightness of them right there, and you choose one that's the right brightness for the job. So that's how I'm choosing brightness. So these are essentially the same color. They just have different outputs. So what's the resistor in series for then, if it isn't to dim them? Well, LEDs are conductive in one direction. They're just ordinary diodes, if you like. And so they're virtually short circuit to DC. And if you just hook them up across a supply that can give you more than the amount of current they can take, they go and blow. And that's the end of them. So they're current driven. They're current limiting resistors. That's what that's for. Rather a complicated answer. I know a lot of you are asking that kind of question. So there's an answer for you. Next question was, where can I get all the bits you use without having to buy hundreds of them? Good question. The problem with these things is that they're all available at a price. Usually the bits individually are very cheap, so much so that it wouldn't be worth the companies shipping them out. So where possible, I've sent links in the descriptions of where I get the bits. But it is true that I use them for all sorts of other things, or have them left from other projects from long ago. Let me show you something. Resistors. They always come these days on these strips. I usually buy, when I get run out or lose them, it's usually because I'm untidy, you buy another box of them. But look, these are all 1K resistors. It looks like a machine gun belt, doesn't it? That's because the old belt is almost out. I use a lot of them, but if you only need one, I mean, I think it's 100 of them for 60p or something. So, and the same with diodes. Look at this. I just bought another packet of, you haven't seen me use these particular diodes. These ones here, you've seen me use. These are the 1N4001s. You can get 001, by the way, just refers to the working voltage or the current, and a 2 does exactly the same job, slightly more expensive, takes more current. But yeah, I use those by the score. So that's why I do that. A couple of you have asked, well, can you just send me some? Yeah, I'm very willing to do it. I just don't know how. I haven't figured that bit out yet. I never thought I'd be asked to supply electronic components. I mean, all of the projects I've done, you could buy all of the bits for between $5 and $10. Seriously, the little flashing light, or the train detector, or whole train detector, I think that one cost under £1. You remember the signal I made, working signal? It's two LEDs and a diode, 2 LEDs and a resistor. I mean, that's literally pennies. So yes, I've got hundreds of them in the drawer. I'd be willing to send them to you, but I need to set up a store or figure out how you do that before I just say, oh yeah, send me your address and I'll send it to you. Yeah. Willing, but I'll need some time to figure out how to set that up. Another question was about the barbed wire fence. I do have to make some more of that soon. I'll show you how I did it again. And I got you do know you can buy that stuff. Yes, I know you can buy that stuff. In fact, I did buy some of that stuff. Let me show you. Woodland Scenics comes in a nice packet. I even measured it and worked out there was 26.5 inches of it for however much you pay for it. And here's the evidence. What I didn't like about it was it's not straight. It doesn't have the barbed wire on the top. And I think mine looks better. Just saying. I really do. And mine is a fraction of the cost. So there. No, seriously, it's a cost thing. It's significantly cheaper to make it myself. I am not made of money. And if you're going to make it, then let's find a way of doing it cheaply. And so that's what I did. And we'll be making some more soon. Another comment. You do know those planes aren't to scale, don't you? Yes, I do. My son made that one. And so it stays, even if it were twice the size. It doesn't look out of place. The other one's a bit bigger. But yeah, it's fine. I can live with certain things. There's a good number of things on the layout that are the wrong scale. A lot of HO things, simply because I can't get hold of the 00 equivalent, especially living here in America. I'm guessing I need to add some fence along behind the church at some point. There's a lot of little jobs, which brings me to the next thing. I get a lot of, why don't you, and then fill in the blank. Number of reasons, whatever it is. Either I haven't thought of it, and I really do thank you for the suggestion. Oh, why didn't I think of that? That's one reason. The second would be, I haven't got time. I still have a full-time job. I work as an instructor for an airline, and my schedule's a bit erratic, so I do get some days off together every now and again, but very often work long hours and a lot of days together, and I just don't have time. Or the third is I can't afford it. It's a hobby. It's not it's one of those things where if you had all the money there was, I suppose you could do some of those things, but I don't. And so I have to come up with ways of doing things that are a little unorthodox. Some rather lovely comments about the signal box. Where are the stairs? It's a good question. I'd never thought of it. But there is a door there. If I go around the other end, there's another door there. But there are no doors upstairs. And so I'm guessing there must have been stairs on the inside. But there is no, there's no indication of those on the inside, of course. It's a toy. Get over it. Yeah. A more interesting comment for me was, wouldn't those levers be on the window side? I thought, you know what? They're probably right. But there are windows. Can you see them at the back there? There are windows over there too. If I turned the signal box round, the windows would be looking at the branch, which is more likely what it controls. There's not really much out here. But then the windows, you wouldn't be able to see in. I could just turn the whole thing around inside, then the levers would be this side, but most of the detail is on this side. So I'm going to live with the discrepancy. I think whoever said that is quite right. I don't remember seeing a signal box with the levers on the back instead of the front. But that's the compromise. I want to be able to see in. Another comment from another source was, why haven't you ballast? I did glue the track down. Look, it doesn't move anymore. So there's a little bit of glue in there. I just haven't got around to it. That's another one of those jobs. I will. There had been ballast. I think I've explained a couple of times that this curve used to go there and the point was there. In fact, you can see where the point motor used to come up there. So the extension is long overdue. Oh, by the way, I did put the concrete step in. Look, you see that? I notice it isn't quite straight, but it is, yeah, it's glued down. So we'll live with it. Life goes on. I will ballast. I just haven't. That's another one of those round to it jobs. A recent question was, what are you going to do for the 100th video? That's coming right up, isn't it? Is it the next one or the one after? I hadn't thought about it. I really hadn't. I don't think I'd noticed. The reason I number them is simply that they're easy to find them when I'm filing them. 2,000 subscribers on 100th video are going to be more or less. I think the video will probably get there first. I have to think of something special. Perhaps I'll eat an ice cream for you. I will say, when I started making these videos again in November, there were just a few videos up at that point. I absolutely hadn't expected it to get quite this big, quite this fast. And what happened? All I did was make a video of me doing what I do in the basement and answering your questions, and look what happened. Thank you. Appreciate that. But yeah, that's a lot of views and a lot of subscribers. Thanks very much for your input, and really appreciate you all. Thanks. I've been asked a couple of times about power supplies. This is a bog standard computer power supply. Any old computer, you'll be able to pull one of these out of it. And they have the standard kettle plug on them, and then a bunch of wires sticking out. Now, the only change that I've made that you probably wouldn't is I've gone inside and removed a bunch of the wires, but you would just have a bunch of other wires sticking out. Perfectly safe. This big one though, you can buy these things, and I did have a link. I've seen others I think might be better. You just plug this into there and look what it gives you. Plus and minus 12 volts. And plus and minus 12. So 24 volts between the two red terminals, or 12 volts between the GND ground and 12. 5 volts, 3.5 volts, or 3.3 volts there. There's no 9 on it, which is a nuisance. But yeah, a way of reusing a computer power supply. You've seen me using a lot of 9-volt batteries to test projects around the layout. Most of those projects are just quite happy to run on 12 volts. As I've just shown you with the LED dimming issue, most of them 9 or 12, it doesn't matter. But if you do need 9, you use something called a buck converter or a DC to DC converter. I've got one in here, let me show you. Yeah, there's a couple of them here. So just a little circuit board. And yes, I did use my teeth. So in there and out there, and you see that screw on the top there. There you go, that screw. That adjusts the working voltage out. I think this was $5 or something like that, very cheap. It all adds up, of course, but I usually have, you even get a digital readout, which is kind of fun. I used one of those in the time machine. You might remember me talking about that. I did show it to you in an early video, but that's what that is. And so if you absolutely needed 9 volts or something, you just use one of those. Or you could dig around in the wall wart box and find one that says 9 volts on it. I think we've all got old phone chargers or whatever. Some of them don't say what they're all supposed to. What's that one? That is 9 volts. There you go. So that would be another way of doing it. I've already got that, so I wouldn't have to buy it, would I? Now here's a word of caution. I have a few of these batteries kicking around. They're fine. Big meaty things. You could run the whole layout from one of those for quite a while. I have them because I have a UPS and there's a couple of those in it. And yes, I could use that on the bench instead of a 9-volt battery. The reason I'm using a 9-volt battery actually is so that I'm not showing you things that are dangerous. If you're going to use a big battery like that, you must have a fuse in line with the terminal so that you don't draw massive amounts of current and start a fire or something. So little 9-volt battery is quite safe, but you start getting into some of those big 12-volt batteries. It's not the volts, it's the amount of current that the thing can deliver. And you really don't want that. If you make a mistake on a breadboard, you're going to burn something. Speaking of breadboard, I like to leave projects made up. There's a couple of them in the back there. Yes, about that. So I do leave them made up until I've finalized the project. So this one's still, it'll come apart soon. But look at all the components it's using, all these diodes. And I showed you a few minutes ago, I've got another pack. That's why I go through so many. And I will eventually put those in a box and reuse them. But I want those there so that if something goes wrong with the project, I can come back to it and not have to rebuild the whole thing. That's one I've almost stripped down. I'm trying to remember what that one was. I think that was the whole train detector that we just did. I didn't need to keep it because I'm not keeping the project. I will put that back together in no time. But I do have quite a few of these lumps of breadboard around. Another question from the comments that I get. If I were giving a tip to new modelers, what would I say? Just one. Just one. I think I would say don't try and do too much all at once. speaking from experience, you've seen this huge layout that I have. It will bite you. It will burn you out. I would like to have this layout finished so that I could get on with another one, but I'm determined to get this one finished before I do. I might just deviate a little bit, but so don't bite off more than you can chew. The why behind that what? You can burn out on modeling. I did. I was out of this room for years. We got it all up and running. Family circumstances changed, and I wasn't down here. But by limiting the time I'm here to an hour a day or something like that, when I come in from work, it's a decompress zone. So just do a little bit each day. You'll get there, and don't try and do it all at once. And some of the comments I'm getting, well, when are you going to get on with it? Well, that's why I'm not. I'm pacing. And it's not that I'm putting it off and putting it off. It's just I need to have the time, and I'm not going to spend all week down here when I'm off. So an hour or two a day at the most for me, and that'll avoid burnout. Last question, steam or diesel? Can't imagine. I'm looking around the yard here, around the branch station, and there's no steam trains there at all, are there? There are steam trains. I love having Tornado on the layout. There are steam trains that are newer than the diesels. So, yes. But if you know anything about me at all, neither. Do you see what's here? EMUs. There's another one over here. I wonder if we can get all the way to the branch. So a bit of everything. Electric, Southern. I really enjoy steam trains. I really think they're marvels of engineering, especially for the time in which they were built. I like things I remember, I suppose, like most of us. So the older underground trains, the slam door EMUs, specifically these, the 2-hap. That is what I went to school on most days through secondary school. That would be high school here in America. So I think, like many of us, we enjoy the things we remember. I think I remember the bubble car. Either that or the 3-car unit that looks very like it, where you could sit behind the driver. I don't know what trains, I could easily research it, but I don't know which trains were on the Haringey line, but something that looked a bit like that. Now that's memory for you. I think it was a 3-car unit, honestly. The Gronk, well, not in that livery, I'm quite sure, and looked filthy dirty. When I was, I don't know, 6 or 7, steam trains were getting rare. And I thought that was one because of the way the wheels are linked with connecting rods. I thought, oh, look, it's a funny looking steam train. So that's why there's a Gronk on the layout. But look what's right behind is the very earliest memories I have of any train. My father used to work on the underground, and we would ride that kind of train to see Nana routinely. And likewise the travelling post office. My grandfather and uncle worked on the travelling post office. It would have been painted in the older livery than that. But yeah, so lots of memories, I suppose. The question was steam or diesel though, wasn't it? Steam. Having said all that, I hope you've enjoyed this answer to your questions session, and we'll get on with something more important in the next video. Thanks for watching and clicking that like and subscribe button. See you next time.